Welcome to Querying Science, Theology, Philosophy, and Spirituality, the LGBTQ Center for Science, Theology, Philosophy, and Spirituality. And we are discussing about ancient Israeli legislation and modern Israeli legislation based on an occultation I had on Facebook on our gay pastor account, gay pastor, where a lady decided to come and tell me off that I can't be a gay pastor. And I told her I can be, and I'm happily one. And she is the one who inspired me to even think about what I'm saying I'm going to talk about today. You see, inspiration is very weird. Even you can get it from negative sources. Yes, sometimes your enemies strengthen you. Yeah, more than your friends. So I'm more stronger than I was when I just had friends who like my post. You like it. Wow. God loves us all LGBTQ persons, and you get likes. Nobody's attacking you. Yeah, you sleep well until you see a homophobe appear and bring their head there. Then you say, "What?" Then now that's what has happened to me. Now, so after that discussion with that lady, I don't unfriend homophobes, especially in such an account. Yes, I keep them to teach them. Yes, I keep them because I can talk. Even most of there's another account I have, my personal name, and I have a friend of mine. He's very homophobic. He still doesn't understand homosexuality. I talk to that, and I can't unfriend him. I'll keep him there. We can even argue. Even in the afterlife, we will argue. And I always tell people that in the afterlife, I'm gonna thank God for the men He created. Very sexy men, very handsome. I enjoy them. And I'll go and tell him, thank you, Jesus. Even here on earth, I just say, thank you, Lord. Hallelujah for the creations you've given us, especially men being gay. Yeah, you just look for men. And it's not bad. I always tell some people that don't attack a woman who loves women only. Yes, don't attack lesbians that she loves women. Why are you jealous of her? She loves women. Let her go and look for women. Why are you jealous of him when he just wants to be with a man? Yes, let him. That's why we are LGBTQ. We understand there are women who love women. We understand there are men who love men only. We understand there are men and women who love men and women, the bisexuals. We understand there are transgenders, people who want to be men when they are women, and people who want to be women when they are men. Very understandable. We understand there are people who are weird. They just are attracted to every orientation, the pansexuals. We understand there are people who are intersex. They have both men and women in them. They are a man and a woman. Sometimes they don't know whether to call themselves. They don't know. But they are men and women physically. And there are others who are questioning. Today they think they are straight. Tomorrow they think they are bi. Then the next day they are gay. Then the other day maybe I'm a transgender. Then the other day I'm just giving up. I'm going to be asexual. And there are others who don't even think about sex. Yes, they don't. You look at them and you say, when was the last time you had sex? 10 years ago. And you wonder, and you're still living? They're living. Yes, those are sexuals. And then you have, then we also understand the allies. These are straight people who like gay people and they understand them. Or they are trying to understand them. Or they are saying, we'll support you. We are protecting you from our brothers and sisters, straight brothers and sisters that are attacking you. These are the allies. So that's what we have now. And then we have, sadly, we have the straight people who are homophobic, because all straight people should be allies. All, all should be allies. That's how it should be. And and the proof that as a country has allies is that the laws of those countries protect LGBTQ persons. But the moment you find you're in a country whereby those laws, that's why we're talking about legislation today, those laws do not protect LGBTQ persons, or they still criminalize them, it means there are homophobes in that country. That's why I don't attack Africa and the Arab world. I understand the reason why they can't legislate for same-sex people that fast like we would want it. It's because homophobes are many. If there were few, believe you me, if homophobes are very few in Africa, oh my goodness, LGBTQ marriage would be happening, because Africans like loving. Yes, it's just that they, maybe it seems that the population of straight people is high, or then bisexual, you know. But I think the why I say bisexual, because in Africa, my understanding of Africa, a bisexual can be closeted and out. So majority are closeted, meaning their spouses don't even know. Yes, they don't. Or if they know, they don't even talk about it. The wife just says, I know you're seeing another man, but don't even ever tell me. Just don't. So, yeah, there's some women like that. They just say, I just don't even want to think. So, when you come home, just do your stuff and don't talk about it. So, you find these men, they are gay in underground, but they are straight in the open. And they stand with the wife, yeah, 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 these are my children. But behind, in the closet, they are gay. So that's why the majority are closeted bisexuals. And I say this because even in the Arab world, it's the same. Yes, they are gay and they are open. But what I tell these Africans who are closeted and these Arabs, and because weird enough, they even share the same genetic group. Can you imagine? It's so beautiful. No wonder they behave the same. And so I say no. Allow also African LGBT and Arabs who want to be open, who want to be out. Yes, allow them. Because that means you're a tolerant society. Otherwise, it means your society is not tolerant, and therefore you can't stay there. You see, like what happened in Uganda. Uganda could not keep those the gay people who are out. Till today, they arrest anybody who is out. They arrest them. And of course, they arrest them, but it doesn't. When you know the law, it doesn't hold water, because the law says you have to have had sex, and nobody can prove you have had sex. You see, but mostly transgenders are easy targets. Like if you watch the news in Uganda, they are always catching these transvestites and trans women, but mostly transvestites. They look like a woman. And you see, the guy looks like, he really looks like a lady. And that's how some of them survive, because they know when a man sees someone beautiful, a lady beautiful, a beautiful lady, they go and sleep with them. Others, it's even a cover up. You're gay and you sleep with that person. You just tell him, okay, dress like a lady, then I'll pick you up. And he dresses and he goes. And in fact, in the westernized Africa, it's a bit hard, because it's very easy to tell. But in the Arab world, all you need to do is, you're a man, wear a burqa, and then and the guy will pick you silently. Or the lady, you're seeing the guy is wearing a burqa, is walking with ladies in the group. And nobody knows that that's a man in that group. Yes, that's why Europe, they just said no, we are tired of these burqa wearing persons because some of them are men. Yeah. So that's what is happening, is a closeted bisexuality. So you need to know that LGBTQ persons, they are closeted ones and they are out ones. What has happened in the West, it is they are encouraging the out LGBTQ. But it doesn't mean there are no closeted LGBTQ persons. Like I was always saying about the American political situation. The Democrats tend to have out LGBTQ persons. But the Republicans have closeted LGBTQ persons. Look at Caitlyn Jenner. Everybody knew him as Bruce. Let me tell you, when he was Bruce Jenner, he was trans. But nobody knew. Only him. You see how he kept that secret? And look, which party did he like? Republican. Yes. Conservatives, they're like that. Very, very snaky. They can keep a secret. You find the guy is married with children. Then, just the time he goes to die, you realize he had a boyfriend. Look at Pastor Ted Haggard in America. He was so vocal against the LGBTQ movement, but recorded on tape was his time with a man. His time with a man. Are you seeing how Republicans or conservatives behave? Yes, they are closeted LGBTQ persons. So that's the real war that's happening. It's that the LGBT persons in the conservative wing tend to be, they love the closet. But those on the left wing, they love being out. That's why it's very weird that on the left wing in America, they have very many Muslims. Yes, because Muslims to me, and that's why there were Muslims who supported Trump in America, because they are conservative. They like hiding their stuff. Yeah, but conservatives, that's what a conservative is, keep their secret. To conserve is to keep. A liberal is, I'm gay, I don't care what you think, I'm going to do what I want, I'm going to walk where I want to go. That's up to you. And that's how the Western system is more liberal than conservative. That's why ladies wear what they want. People can even walk naked. They can do what they want. Do it. You're liberal. That's a liberal society. But conservatives, they want you to cover. We know you're like that, but don't tell anybody. Yes, in the Arab world, LGBT persons are many. In Africa, there are many, but you will never know. Very few you are out. Like me, I'm out in Africa. It's not easy, but somehow I kind of enjoy it sometimes. It's not easy, as I said in my secular channel. Yeah, you can't get a job because everybody knows who you are. You see. So for me, but I dream of a society whereby you're out and nobody affects you and nobody feels bad and nobody discriminates against you. You see, that's why some people used to say the LGBT they used to say LGBTQ rights is not the same as black civil rights. And I can understand why. But at the same time I can't, because the LGBTQ rights out LGBTQ rights are the same as black civil rights. But the closeted LGBTQ rights are not the same as black civil rights. Reason being, that's why the Democrat Party has out LGBTQ persons with blacks as being the two blocks. But the closeted LGBT persons are in the Republican Party. Reason, the black, when you are in the black civil rights movement, Your black skin is known, it's out. Yes, you can't hide it. The moment someone just sees you black, someone sees you white, there's nothing like being in the closet when it comes to skin color. But with LGBTQ life, there is something like being in the closet. So that's why some blacks never used to understand some of these black civil rights movement leaders. They never used to understand why LGBT persons are saying they are a civil rights movement. They are a civil rights movement for those LGBTQ persons who are out. Yes, it is a civil rights movement for those ones who are out. And there's a good reason why LGBT persons should be out. It's so that it is a way of educating people that we are sexually diverse. It's a way of teaching people there is diversity, and that this diversity should not be a basis of discrimination or inequality. That's why the black civil rights movement is there, and it will never go away. Reason: blacks are black, they are out. You know, no black man is in the closet, no black woman is in the closet. You're black, we can see it. So because of that, when you go to the office and you need a job and you give your credentials, somebody will know, oh, a black guy just came here, he wanted to get a job. Okay, does he pass the bill? Does he have, yeah, he's good, but he's black. So now you put that company in a test. If they are racially kind, they will hire him. But if they are not, they won't. Remember what happened to Elizabeth Warren? She declared she's a native Indian because of her line. That's it's so funny. And Trump made fun of her. Personally, I can believe her story. It's very possible that she has native Indian blood. It's that what you need to understand, especially about women don't carry much about their father because the father is a Y. The father is a walking Y. The daughter is a walking X. She has his X, but it is not the real him because he's really a Y. It's not the real. So what does this mean? She may be Native American through the father's line, or patrilineally or matrilineally. Now, if she was matrilineally, it could be understandable. Because you see, when you look at Elizabeth Warren, she's blonde. I mean, where do you get Native American blood in blonde hair? Yes, but you can, because Europeans also are Indians. Yeah, to some extent. If you study genetics, they are Indians. They straight hair. Like Native Americans, they also have straight hair. So, but they departed from the Indians long time ago. So you just look at her line and then you'll see she has Native American blood. So she was trying to use that because she went to Harvard. It said that she went to Harvard through that basis, that she's connected to a minority. And therefore, being in a minority group, she deserves to be uh, to be uh, admitted to school. So people said no, as if you're not Native American, then you went to Harvard illegally. That was now the argument in America that time. So what am I trying to say? She's not an out Native American. She's in the closet. Because when you see her, you don't see a Native American, you see a white woman. But she's actually Native American. So that's what you need to know about genetics. Some of us are closeted. Some black people are closeted whites, and some white people are closeted blacks. Yes. And this happens to the half caste line. Like Obama's mother, they found a black man. Yes, she has a black ancestor. And it's weird. But when you look at her, you just see a white woman. So that's the beauty of genetics, is that there's closeted genes and there are out genes. And some people, they show them that, and that's why genetics was a very big deal and is a very big deal. Of course, I when I talk of genetics, I'm talking about just knowing your genome. I'm not talking of eugenics. Eugenics is not genetics. Eugenics is the abuse of genetics. It is to it is used as race for racial discrimination. Yeah, but genetics is not used for racial discrimination. It's used to understand racial diversification and genetic diversification and health. Okay, guys. Now let's go back to the real meat of the story. So that's out people. Some people are out and some people are in the closet. And this is the same with Israel and therefore the whole world. So basically in Africa, me, I'm out, and most of my friends who are out, we are few, very few. I can't even count them. Yes, but the closeted ones, there are many, but they are closeted. I can't tell them because if I open my mouth and say this person is like this, and he has not said, you tell him. You see, that is outing, which is not good. If somebody wants to stay in the closet, let him stay. But we as out people, we want people to know that even if someone is out, don't attack them for being out. It's actually a test to the homophobes. All right. Now, why are we doing Israel? Because something happened to Israel. Number one, Israel has existed for thousands of years. And we are here going through what Wikipedia is showing us. And Wikipedia is talking about Israel. And I liked this part that is, let's just read the first sentence. Israel, officially the state of Israel, is in Western Asia. Western Asia. So you must understand it is part of Western Asia, but for me, I also call it Africa, Northern Africa, because after Egypt is Israel. There is nothing separating Israel from Egypt. So the land is still African land. Yes, it is still African land. So Israel is Africa. Because the land, there is nothing, there is no ocean between Egypt and Israel. So if there were no borders and I'm running away from Cameroon, and then I go from Cameroon, I go to Chad, then from Chad I go to Libya, then from Libya I go to Egypt, then I go to Israel, I don't need a car. All I need is a feet. And there are no borders. That's why many Jews migrated to Africa. And that's why some African tribes are Jewish, like the Igbo in Nigeria are Jews. Because there was no sea. So to run away from Israel when there was trouble, you just come to Africa. Yeah, poof, and you're there. And then you mix with the other tribes. Yeah, so very many tribes have Jewish groups, and also in the genetic groups that are found in Africa are also found in Israel. Yes, most of them. And like Bantus, they belong to genetic group E, and this E is also found in Israel. In the when you study a Jew, there are Jews who are E's, who are R's, who are J. So now when you look at the map again of Israel, the reason why there are Israelis who are also R is a white person, majority whites are R's, is because there is no ocean dividing Israel. Like I told you, if I walk to Israel, then I leave Israel. I'm now looking at the map, and I'm looking at the Wikipedia has a map, so let it cool down. So I've walked from Egypt and then Israel. Then I say, oh, Israel is still bad. So let me walk. Then I walk, I get to Iraq. Then I get to, from Iraq, I run on. And then this is a very big country. This is, I think it's Afghanistan. Yeah, Afghanistan. Then I run to Afghanistan. Then I enter Pakistan. Then I'm in India. No ocean between Israel and India. None. You can walk from Israel to India without crossing water. And that's why there are also Jews who are Indian. Very many. They are there. Because from Israel to India, there is no ocean. You can walk. You know, now borders have just destroyed migration. Yes, migration is now controlled because of, you have to get a visa. Imagine from Israel to India. There are even countries, I think Iraq may not allow an Israeli to go into their country. Yes. But if there are no borders, you can pass. Oh, you're an Israeli. Yeah, I left my grandmother. She stays in India. Yeah, I just want to go and visit her. Oh, carry on, carry on. That's what the world was borderless. Never forget that. The world never had borders. It just had roots. Okay. Now, go back to Israel again. I'm in Israel. Then I say, no, I want to run away from Israel. It's getting too hot. So I then climb up. Then I go to Lebanon. Then from Lebanon, I enter. This is looking like Turkey. Yes. This is Turkey. Is it Turkey? I'm using my, yes, it's Turkey. I go to Turkey. Then from Turkey, there's a very small country. Let me calculate again. This is Italy. Yeah, Greece. So between Greece and Turkey, there's a border. There's no ocean. Most of Greece and Turkey, they have Greece is divided from Turkey with a lot of water. But you can actually enter Greece without going through water. So I just get to Turkey, go there, and then I'm inside Europe without using a boat. But this one should not, you should understand, we're not saying there were no boats at that time. Phoenicians, who are people who are living in the western side of Israel and Sidon, Tyre, Lebanon, they were boat builders. Even Egyptians were boat builders. So you can actually get a boat from Egypt and go to Europe. But I'm talking about inland travelers, that you can get to Europe without seeing water from Israel. And I've told you, Israel is Africa, because the land between Africa and I wish I could do some game here, but I don't think I'll do it now. I'll do it in when we're going to be studying the map of the world. And to show you that Asia is connected, it's the same land mass. It's like a table. Have you seen a table? So just think of Africa, Asia, and Europe. They are one table because there is no water. There are places where you can get to Europe without touching water. Like now, Africans who are running away from Africa, you can actually do it if there were no borders. You just go through Israel. From Israel, you go to Turkey. From Turkey, you enter to Greece, and you're in Europe. No water. But the catch is now, in this video game called the world, there are borders. So Israel is very strict with borders because of security. So you may not get through. And if you don't get through, you can't get to Europe on inland. That's why the Africans were using water. If Israel was allowing them, they would have been going through Israel, Turkey, and then if Turkey wanted them, and then now they come to Turkey. After Turkey, they're inside Europe, Schengen. That's why you see, even till today, Turkey is not in the European Union. One of the reasons is geography. Yes, geography. Because if you allow them, you have basically allowed the Middle East to become members of the EU. Yes. Because from Syria, Turkey, from Syria you can go to Turkey. And if Turkey is a member of EU and it becomes Schengen area, that's it. As a Syrian, I can become an European without going to Denmark, without going to France. So wait when Turkey becomes member of the EU. Though many things are happening to the EU, we do not know whether it's going to survive, with Brexit and all of this stuff. Yes, Britain may decide to pull the switch on the EU. Okay, that's enough of looking at the map. I'll do a proper video about that map. Now let me spend 20 minutes on what brought us here. Now, Israel has existed for thousands of years. And because has existed for thousands of years, as Wikipedia is saying here, Israel has evidence, I like that, evidence of the earliest migration of hominids out of Africa. So people who don't believe in evolution, please go read, it is very true. Hominids out of Africa. Hominids out of Africa. Who are the hominids? Hominids are known as great apes and are a taxonomic family of primates that includes the Pongo, the Borean, the Sumatran, the Tapanuli, gorilla, eastern and western gorilla, pan, the common chimpanzee, and the bonobo. So, back to the article. Israel has evidence of the earliest immigration of great apes out of Africa. So, the apes that left Africa, they also stayed in Israel. And the evidence has been found. Hallelujah. We thank God. Evolution happened even in Israel. Yes, it is wonderful. And the Canaanite tribes are archaeologically attested since the Middle Bronze Age. So there are ages which we will study later on. We have many things to do on QSTPS. Hold your horses. We're going to travel as much as we can. There's a Middle Bronze Age. So the first inhabitants of Israel were Canaanites. That's why it was called the land of Canaan. Israel was not called the land of Israel. Even when Jacob, the father of Israel, was in Canaan, he was there as a traveler. He didn't even think he was going to live there. His grandfather Abraham, was told, you are coming back here and this will be your land. But when he was told that, he was just a traveler. Abraham was traveling Africa, Israel, Africa, Israel. Then, in fact, his real home was Babylon, Iraq. That was Abraham's home. Yes, he was a Babylonian in the land of Ur, the land of light, in Babylon. Beautiful. And he was told to leave Babylon and go east. I can't remember the verse now. So anyway, he moved from Babylon and he came to Israel. Now when he went to Israel, God showed him and told him, this is the land you'll go and have. This is going to be your land, but you won't live there now. So he was forever sojourning, forever sojourning, forever sojourning. That's why he lived in tents. He never built a house. Yes, there is nowhere where Abraham built a stone house because Israel was not his land. It was Babylon. But God said, I'm going to give it to you. Then, after that, what is What is Wikipedia telling us very well? That when the Canaanites lived here, they lived in the Middle Age, the Middle Bronze Age. What is the Middle Bronze Age? The Bronze Age is the period of early urban civilization, and it began in the third millennium BC. That's when it began. So 3000 BC, Canaanites were living there. Then, while the kingdoms of Israel and Judah, which is what we want to talk about now, came in the Iron Age. The Iron Age. Beautiful. This is a beautiful subject. And we're going to read the ages of man. Now, when was the Iron Age? It is the final epoch of the three-age system. The first one was the Stone Age, and the second one was the Bronze Age, and the third one is the Iron Age, when humans started using iron. Now you must understand something about Iron Age, Stone Age. Some countries came into the Iron Age very late. You know, some countries came into the Iron Age very late. I think Europe did not find iron. No, they did. They had blacksmiths. Yeah, as I've told you, everything that happened in Africa happened in Asia and happened in Europe, because they are one land. But because Africa had a lot of minerals, it has had a lot of, and it still has. So that's why iron was like the great iron center, Merowe in Sudan. Very, very, too much iron. And then gold. There was a lot of gold in Sudan and Egypt. Have you seen Egyptian mummies? Do you see how those things are melted in gold? There was too much gold that time. And they harvested it until, actually I think Africa is a whole gold, it's a gold continent. It's just that they are still looking. So it's a rich continent. And maybe because there are very many reasons, but I would think that it's because of the geographical location of Africa. It's in the equator, and where the sun is, there's a lot of games that happens in the earth. You know, water, and then the sun, and this could, maybe it leads to shaping of minerals, because now the soil is so weird, and then volcanic soils, and you can talk about geography forever. It's a beautiful subject. Let's finish what we are discussing. So the kingdoms of Israel, they existed in the Iron Age. Now the Neo-Assyrian Empire destroyed Israel around 700 BC. So you must know, another empire came, the Assyrians, and they destroyed Israel. Then Judah was conquered by Babylonians, Persians, and Greeks. And then Israel became a client state of Rome in 63 BC. And then after that, Jews tried to remove Rome in power, and it failed. Then in the 7th century, it was taken by Muslims. Islam was born in the 7th century, and that's the time Muhammad did conquest in the area, and even after his death, the Muslims now came and took over Israel. Now, we don't want to go far. And then, of course, after these Muslims ruled, then the Ottoman, the Turks, came and also took Israel. And then after that, the Jews decided to return to Israel, but because the Ottoman Empire was collapsing, Britain came in and said, okay, we'll give you that land, because the Ottoman Empire is dead. And they took the land, and then UN now had to partition Israel and all of that. So that's the politics of Israel we don't want to go into. We want to go to the legislation. Now, I was telling this lady that she had to understand the Bible. Now, the Bible is a history book. It's a history book. Now you must understand humans. Humans have two types of history, of recording information. What is history? It is records of information over time. And that's why history is about the past, because it's recording events that happened one time. So why do we record? We record them so that we don't forget. We are telling people this is what happened. Another time we record information so that we can tell people why that thing happened. Now, Israel started writing. Now you must understand, not all civilizations were writers for reasons. Even if you look at hieroglyphics, Egyptians were writers, but they were using drawings as a language. Because language is diverse. You don't need to write letters to be intelligent. In fact, I prefer the Egyptian system. You just look at a bird and it's a one paragraph. Yes, it is. That's symbolism. Go and study many religions that are symbolic. They just look at a triangle and they know what is being, they have been told. Because they have been told, when you see a triangle, it means go east. When you see a circle, it means go and stir the water. So you see triangle, circle, it says go east and then stir the water where you find in the east. Have you seen them writing go east then? No. But you can write. But at the same time, you can just see the pictures and you do it. So this is what you need to understand about diversity of IQ. That's why you cannot say, like what some people, racists, say. They say black people, they are not intelligent, or so and so. No, everybody has their intelligence, and it's different. You see, like in Africa, they don't write. I mean, most African languages, very few of them have their alphabet. It's because they are Egyptian in life. In Egypt, they just draw things. Hieroglyphics are drawings, and they were only found in the temple and in the pyramids. So what am I trying to say? In Africa, knowledge was passed down orally. You see why I'm talking? I talk a lot. I'm African. Yes. Our job was we always talk. We don't, Europeans, majority of them write. That's why there are very many newspapers in the West. Yes, that's how they pass information. Instead of talking, they and then they read books. So you read what someone has written. No talking, no noise. But in Africa, our culture is of, we like talking, you have to pass information. That's why you see in Africa, people sing. Music is very common in African society. It's because it's an oral activity. It involves the mouth. Yeah, it involves the mouth. So you talk about many things and this. But other people, they're just writing. But what matters, information is being given. Like now, I'm on YouTube. I'm giving information. I can choose to write what I'm saying. I've written an article about what I'm saying today. It's there. Yes. It's just that I enjoy talking more than writing. But I can write. I write. And I've written this article. So, and the reason why it is so long is because, as I told you, I just like talking. And so now, so what am I trying to say? Is that Israel has gone through many changes. So ancient Israel wrote its story. And one of the people who wrote this story, it is said, is Moses. Moses was the one who wrote the story of Israel in Genesis. And what happened is, when he did that, the when he did that, the he wrote the story. He was writing backdating because Moses was not the first man. 3,000 years passed for Moses to exist from the so-called first man that was Adam. To me, I think he was just the first. They just think he was the first man. But if you understand evolution, the first man was actually from Africa. Therefore, maybe even the Garden of Eden, if it was there, was in Africa. And when you read it, actually, they say the river of Egypt, which is the river Nile, and they say land, there was gold. And as I've told you, gold was found in Egypt and Sudan in plenty. Plenty. Alluvial soil, that's gold soil. Very much in the Egyptian valley. And Egypt is from Egypt down to Uganda. All of that is Egypt because that's where the Nile ends, past even Rwanda, all of that. And then you come back to South Africa. South Africa is also a gold country. So what does that tell you? The gold belt is long. Zimbabwe, next door to South Africa, in front, gold. So what does this mean? Is that there's a gold belt. There should be a gold belt from South Africa to Egypt. That's how rich Africa is. So, I told you Moses wrote the story, and then Moses was an Egyptian. Very important point. So if Moses was an Egyptian, what does that mean? Moses lived in a super civilization, in a first world. Egypt was a first world country. First world country. When you read the story of Egypt, Joseph, when he was in the country of Egypt, they respected Egypt. They had granaries, they had gold. As I told you in Genesis, they even had. It was rich. It was a first world country. Linen. And remember, this is a time of hominids. The great apes, of whom we are related to. So, there were some humans who are very fast at wearing clothes, looking beautiful, putting makeup. That's how Egypt was. Very civilized, extremely progressive. Even when it came to death, they knew that you needed some spices to keep the body healthy. You see? Beautiful. But they lost the knowledge. That's what we need to know. Empires die. Even America will never last forever. There's a time it will just go. However, there are exceptions. Who knows? They may live for long, because like the Catholic Church is a very old empire, over 1,000 years. Yes. The Catholic Church is the oldest empire in the world that's standing. Over 1,000 years old and still going on, because it began properly in AD 300, 400. So 400 minus 2000 is 1600. It's 1600 years old. I'm keeping quiet to make you think. So, okay, now then now what happened is the Israel. So Moses was an Egyptian, trained Egyptian. He went through Egyptian school, so most likely even had known how to read hieroglyphics, and therefore he was taught how to write in Egypt. He learned how to write in Egypt. And the time, now you must understand, Egypt must have had a system. And even, in fact, let me tell you the other secret, which is not a secret anymore. The Nubians, these are the black Egyptians, were writers. They even had, and they are related to Copts who also write. So hieroglyphics was a code language. It was not even the language known by the people. It was only known by the priests. And the reason why they used them was to hide what they were saying. Only the priests knew what was being said when they go to the pyramids, because that is how you could even hide gold. For us, those are their old passwords. For us now, you have to have your password and it's personal. These guys, they just drew pictures, but they knew. Only those who know what we are saying. That's why you see when the Europeans came to Egypt, they looked for the treasures of King Tutankhamun. Yes, they looked because they had to read the hieroglyphics to find where the diamonds and the gold were hidden. Because Egyptians, when they bury people, um, they bury them with their possessions. They believe that you will go to the afterlife with them. And let me tell you something. For us now, we are able to enter pyramids and we see the possessions. The Egyptian people never entered. They were sacred places. Yes. So what is this? The belief of the afterlife, that the pharaoh is going to go with possessions, was believed. But it's now we know it is not true. They left them here. Yes, they left them. They left the possessions here. And so when the Europeans, very sneaky guys, they came in and they went and they found out, they read the hieroglyphics and they said, we have found the gold. Because you see, Egyptians have been in Egypt for all that time. Why did they not go and fish? It's because they believed that these guys went with the gold. Until they realized, maybe you can enter there and nothing happens. That's what happened. That's why if you've read the very famous book, The Curse of King Tutankhamun, the story of the emerald or diamond that was stolen from the pyramid, everybody who held it, something bad happened to them. Because they were not supposed to enter his tomb. And of course, the whole moral of the story is that there's a way secular people, they just do things anyhow. They can enter, when you're secular, that's why I love atheists. An atheist can even enter a shrine, and like the Ark of the Covenant is said to be in Ethiopia, and it is protected. Nobody should enter, because if they enter, they'll die. Let me tell you, if I was in my atheist self, I'll just say, open the door. I'm gonna take it, and nothing will happen to me. Yes, because I'm not scared. I know what it is. It was made by a human being. But people who believe, they can't even dare try to enter. So like you see in Africa, people fear to enter shrines. There's a witch doctor or the spiritist. They can't go there. I'll die. But somebody who doesn't believe in those things enters. That's why we love atheists, because they enter anywhere. Anywhere. They don't fear. Even if they die there, they are okay. They wanted to go in there. So what happened when these guys entered the pyramid, they found treasures that belonged to King Tutankhamun. And then they took it. But again, the game was to tell Europeans not to enter those pyramids. There's a curse for anybody. So the story was everybody who held the diamond died, including, I don't know if it was true, there was somebody in France, royalty, who held it, and also life went crazy. I'll get the book again and then I'll read it and come back and tell you. So anyway, what I'm trying to tell you is that Egypt had different systems, writing systems. Some was coded language and others was decoded. So decoded language is the writing, the one we now use today, where you have alphabets and all of that thing. So the Copts, who are also Egyptians, wrote. The Nubians, the black Egyptians, also wrote. So what does this mean? Moses was taught how to write by the Copts and the Nubians. And even Moses married a black woman, completely black, because a Nubian was the blackest. And that's why Miriam hated him, because she thought, why did you go and pick a Nubian? You know, the racism was there. Yeah, that's a racist story that Miriam was, and not only Miriam, some of the Jews, they were not happy that he had done that. So this means that there was racism, racial profiling that time. Okay, but nonetheless, Moses learned how to write from these people. And then Hebrew, so we can dare say that Hebrew, writing of Hebrew was also announced, was brought from Moses. Of course, I don't want to speak authoritatively about it now, but I'll do so later on when I now find out when did Hebrew start writing. But in my view, they should have started writing with Moses, because the first book they wrote as Hebrew people was the book of Genesis, and when they left Egypt. But we'll talk about that later on. Now, why am I talking about this? Because Moses wrote laws. Now we are coming to the meat of the video. Moses wrote laws about sex, sacrifice, rituals, and religion. Now, I want you to understand something very important. Please don't lose the thread of thought that Moses was in a country that already had systems. You see? It already had systems. So in my view, the real father of the Hebrew nation is Moses, because he is the one who got them out of Egypt and then put them aside and gave them a new system that was a mixture of Egyptian thought and then his own thought. A mixture of Egyptian thought and his own thought. Now, Canaanites, remember we've just read on Wikipedia that the Canaanites were the real inhabitants of Israel. Secondly, we have said that Moses learned how to write from Egypt. Now, thirdly, Moses, after learning how to write, it's like anybody. You go and work in a company, you learn how Facebook does its things, you see the structure, then you go and start your own Facebook, you call it another thing. That's what Moses did. He learned how Egypt was run. He was a prince, prince of Egypt. And then after being a prince, he learned how Egypt is run, he learned how systems, and then he created. Because Egypt also had their origin, their genesis. Every religion, every culture has their genesis story. The story of Egypt is not like the one of the Israelis or Christians now. Because Egypt believes that the god Atum created the world after masturbating. He masturbated and then he created the world. And I told people, do you know what that means? I always tell people that means Egyptians really wank a lot. Yes. Because to them, the world was created. I'm always wanking. Maybe this is how the world came. And that's how the religious people of Egypt said the world was created. He wanked. And he was a hermaphrodite. So after wanking, that's how the world was created. That's the Egyptian belief. Now, Moses may have heard that story and said, no, it cannot be that. Because even later on, Egypt then had gods and goddesses, Osiris, Isis, Hathor, all of these people. Horus. So go and study Egyptian religion. And remember, this was known before Israel even existed. Then you keep quiet. You see? the importance of a chronology in religion. And remember, India was also religious at that time of Moses. Also go and read Indian Hindu. Like now we are really reading it and impressed that most of what Hindus have is what Egypt had and is what Israel has. Only that Israel took the monotheistic path. You see, that's why Moses made a mistake in writing Elohim in Genesis chapter 1. But it was because he was wired to be a polytheistic person. Because Egypt was polytheistic. India is polytheistic. They believe in gods and goddesses. So what does that mean? India is a Elohim country. Egypt is an Elohim country. And then Israel was an Elohim country, but because Moses is a monotheist, he destroyed the concept of Elohim by saying God, the Lord our God is one. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one. So that's why they became monotheistic. And this is why Islam is monotheistic, because when Muhammad was learning the religions around him, that's Christianity and Judaism, he liked Moses' monotheism. And he also borrowed from him. And he took monotheism. He didn't like the Christian polytheism, because Christians were saying Jesus is God, and then he has a father who is also God. So to him, he was like, what are you saying? Muhammad did not understand it, but he could understand Moses very well. Hear, O Israel, thy Lord thy God is one. Yeah, that one is making sense. We have one God. There is no other God but Allah and his prophet, Muhammad. And that was the end. And there is no difference between Islam and Judaism, because in Israel, there is no other God but Eloah. Are you seeing they even rhyming Eloah and Allah? And his prophet, Moses. That's why a pure Judaic person does not believe there is any prophet greater than Moses. They don't. They don't. See? So anyway, let's go on. So why are we focusing on this? It's because the ancient Israeli legislation, the ancient laws of Israel, were made by Moses, the founder of the nation of Israel. He is the founder. So the laws he made for Israel, of course he says that God gave him those laws, but nobody went to witness with him. He went to the mountain, he came back with laws. And remember, he was writing. Have you noticed something? Not all Israelis got the education Moses had. Now, this is what I call sinister interpretation. So what does this mean? Moses was a very clever leader. First of all, he knew the people he's leading do not have his education. So he led them. They were being led by an educated man, Egyptian educated. Because when Israel was in Egypt, they were slaves. And Egyptians were so racist, they could not even eat with Hebrews. Do you remember the story of Joseph? Joseph could not eat with his brothers because the custom was that Egyptians should not eat with Hebrews. So that's how racist they were. So what am I trying to say? Just like the racist system in America and South Africa, blacks do not go to the schools of whites. That was the racial system at that time. And so even in Egypt, that time the racist system was Israelis, Hebrews do not go to Egyptian schools. But Moses was the exception. He went to an Egyptian school. And not only an Egyptian school, he was in the king's palace. I'm sure he was very handsome and wearing nice chains, the way Egyptians wear chains. Yeah, look at Black American rappers. Yeah, they are wearing chains, just like the Egyptian pharaohs, wearing gold. Yes, that is Egyptian culture. It's beautiful. It's lovely. So anyway, now this is where we are coming to the crux of the matter. So most of the laws Moses made were against the practices that were happening in Egypt and in Canaan. That's what you need to understand. And this includes homosexuality. And this includes transgenderism. And this includes incest. Remember, incest was normal in some cultures. Lot, the nephew of Abraham, slept with his daughters. And you see, the daughters, they were not wrong to sleep with the father. Yeah, there was no man around, and they needed children. Even I wish the Moabites are still existing. It's beautiful that the incestuous line of a father and daughter is still in the world. Because those girls slept with daddy to get children. And the Bible says those children formed a tribe. Because all children in the world, even today in the world, do you know why the population of the world, if the world remains the way it is, families make up tribes. Tribes make up nations. That's how it is. That's why Israel started with 12 children, male children. 12 boys started a country, a race, not even a country, because Jews are everywhere in the world. 12 boys. Only. And they were called tribes. And then if those tribes become very big, they become nations. That's what I even tell Africans. Like in Africa, because the population increases, there are people who have sub-tribes. If you find a tribe that has sub-tribes, that is a red alert that that tribe is going to become very big. And this is what has happened in a country like Kenya. There is a tribe called the Luyas. Luya have sub-tribes. So what does that mean? It's a red alert that that population is really expanding. So what does this mean? When they grow, they will become, from being sub-tribes, they will become tribes. And in 100 years to come, 50 years to come, the sub-tribe will be so big, they will say, we don't need this tribe, Luya tribe. So like it has very many Bukusu, Bunyore, and all of these, and Bagisu and all of that. So when they will grow big, Maragoli, blah, 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 when they grow big, they will say, the Bukusu will hit, like 50 years to come, they will become 6 million. And they'll say, no, we are tired. We can't be calling ourselves Luya when we have our tongue. So they will go and become a nation on their own. So what's going to happen? There will be very many tribal kingdoms because the population of those kingdoms is increasing. Now, Luyas are a subclade of Bantus who happen to be over 300 million in Africa. In fact, the highest number of Africans are Bantu. So Bantu kingdom has very many people. And this kingdom, Bantu kingdom, has very many kingdoms. And these kingdoms have sub-kingdoms, which when they are going to grow up will become kingdoms, and then they'll be like that. So that's what's happening. Kingdoms upon kingdom upon kingdom upon kingdom. So what am I trying to say? Israel also went through that. Like now Israel is gone. Do you know Jews cannot do Aliyah proper? Aliyah meaning returning back to Israel. Because they're everywhere. Every country in the world has Jews, a community. So if you are to tell everybody, anybody who has Jewish blood, please go back to Israel, there may be no space. Yeah. So these days I tell these Christians who like saying Jews should go back, no. let them stay where they want to stay and live their life. If Jesus wants to come, that he's not coming until every Jew goes back. No, that's wrong. that's a bad deal. Let him come and find them scattered. Of course, anyway, I'm just talking of, I'm making fun of the millennial Christians, the ones who believe, who are waiting for Jesus to come and rule from Israel. So anyway, so what am I trying to say? Homosexuality was being practiced in the land of Israel, but it was called Canaan. It was called Canaan. It was Egypt. Oh my, there was even a cult. Homosexual cult. In Egypt, Africa. And as I've told you, the god of Egypt, the one who created the world, according to Egyptians, ancient Egyptians, was a masturbator. That's an LGBTQ person. He's a queer man. He didn't see the need of creating the world to get to sleep, because other nations believe that for God to create the world, he had to sleep with a woman. Yes, but for Egypt, no, you don't need. Just wank and the world will be created. And that's what happened. So that's what I'm saying. Egypt was, the Egyptian god, Otum, is a queer god. As I did the other video when I was talking about the sex of God, there are some religions that are LGBTQ. That is ancient Egypt and India. And also any country that has LGBTQ persons. That even includes Israel, Elohim. Yes, because LGBTQ persons are hijras. They are weird people. Yes, they are weird. So when you are weird in Africa and in India and also Israel, you are given godlike. You are a god. Because we don't know what this is. You see, even in Israel, they never called gods. They can't call his name. Because they don't know who he is. They even fear. Yeah, it's so, I'm telling you, sorry, religions like that, we can talk about it. It's just talking. All right. So, now, that's ancient Israel. Now, let me stop the video here, and I will give part 2 of this video, where we'll now look at what happened to the law, implementation of the law. Because when Moses did this, there were no police to enforce that law. All right, then we'll be back.